like we should be discouraging. You know what I mean? We shouldn't have to like our politicians. You know what I mean? Like liking them should be one of one of the lower things on the list. You know what I mean? Like we shouldn't be fans of our politicians, I guess is what I'm saying. You know what I mean? Like, you know how Trump had like fans, you know what I mean? Those people out there, they die for Trump because they were like, that was their dude. You know what I mean? Like that is a terrible way to think about a politician. You know, like these people work for you. These people are your employees. Like these are public servants. They should be out there trying to do everything they can to make your life better. And if they're not, you should be emailing their offices and calling their offices and threatening to vote them out of office and stuff like that. You can't just be like, he's my guy, so that's just the way it is. You know what I mean? Like that's what gets us into these situations.
And but that's one of those things where if this is the route we're going, you know what I'm saying, where experience is no longer that's not the prerequisite. It's not the prerequisite for you to, to get the job. You literally can come in with likability. So now we got YouTubers who've got millions of fans, and you know what I mean, they're campaigning for president. We got Olympic gold medalists, campaigning for president. I mean, we're literally opening the door for no experience, no necessary qualifications, other than can you bring your social backing, and will they follow you to the polls and vote for you? And that's kind of what I'm scared of. It's like, we already tried that experiment. We just did that.
Yeah.
We just did that experiment, and it didn't turn out too well. They stormed the Capitol, like all hell broke loose. But yet people have this notion that, maybe he just wasn't the guy. Maybe we should try it again. But this time we'll get somebody that we all can agree we like. Yeah. And I know he'll do such a bang up job of it.
Yeah. And it's based on what, like, you're not electing the guy from G.I. Joe. You're not electing the character from Jumanji. You're electing Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. And we don't know his quality. Like, he seems like a great guy, but that's all we know about him personally. You know what I mean? Like he's actually one of those celebrities who does a lot to keep his personal business out of the media. You know what I mean? So all we know about him is like good guy, he does a lot of fun movies, and that's about it, which is great. Like I love that in a celebrity. Just be cool and do your thing or whatever. But like, you want to know more about your politicians and like who they are and stuff like that. Not only that, but like, if we get into a situation like where we end up in a global pandemic, are they going to have the ability? Are they going to have the people behind them? Are they going to have the leadership abilities to make it so we don't all end up stuck inside for a year? You know what I mean? Like it's those kind of things that you have to really think about. It's like, President The Rock. LOL.
Awesome. Yeah,
it's funny. You know what I mean?
Dwayne The Rock. We at that point everybody will be calling him President Johnson.
Yeah, exactly.
President Johnson just passed a bill. Keeping all fitness centers open 24 hours. I can see him passing bills like that. Like we'll be healthier than we ever were.
Yeah. Like if you don't want to stand for the anthem, you could do 20 push-ups instead. We'll all be stronger for it.
Exactly. But I don't know if anything outside of that is actually gonna, look or how that's going to look,
Yeah. It's still a fun thing to think about. You know what I mean? Just because of the ridiculousness. I still think if he runs, he should run under President The Rock. I think you should just go ahead and get rid of his other names, because at that point, we're in it. You might as well just go ahead and just jump straight in. Like he should just, do the State of the Union, in his Brahma Bull Speedo with some elbow pads, some knee pads on, and just, be out there full eyebrow raise and just do the State of the Union address like that. Just lean right in, just
and
go
I think he should definitely have Kevin as his vice, because Kevin is going to keep everybody in the country laughing. Then you could even when you start your cabinet, you could even go holler at Kanye and put Kanye as
Just don't
The
make him
Minister of
education
Defense.
secretary.
You can make him the Minister of Defense. Secretary of Defense or something. I don't know.
Yeah, you'll know who's who the U.S. Army is, because they'll be running around in Yeezys getting sand in their shoes. Like, what?
Exactly, man. You know,
These things aren't protecting me. No, yeah, I love it. I hope, what I hope is that it continues to be a thing until eventually, you know, the time comes around for like actually, you know, doing presidential stuff, and he's like, nah, I was just bullshitting. You know what I mean? Like that. That's what I hope. The Rock, please give me that, because like if we could just have that kind of fun, and then just he can bail out of that, perfect, beautiful.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
because now one of the things that you know, talking about our democracy and the country that we live in, there was an incident that happened back in December, I think December 5th, 2020, where a second lieutenant in, I believe is it Army? Is he Army?
But yeah, it was Army. Yeah.
Okay. So a second lieutenant in the Army was pulled over by Windsor, Virginia Police Department on a traffic stop. The police say that they viewed a SUV, a black SUV, with no license plate. So they commenced to make the stop. The police officer that arrived on the scene, his name was Officer Joe Gutierrez. Now, Mr. Joe Gutierrez decided to walk up to the vehicle, asked the driver, who was Mr. Karan Nazario, second lieutenant in the U.S. Army, to step out of his vehicle. Now, at this point, Mr. Nazario asked the officer, Mr. Joe Gutierrez, what am I being stopped for?
Yeah.
This question somehow made Officer Joe Gutierrez infuriated. No one knows why, but questions in the Gutierrez house are not allowed. So he then decides to pull out his taser and aim it at second lieutenant Karan Nazario, which ensued in a back and forth dialogue between the two, until Officer Joe Gutierrez decided to pull out his pepper spray and spray pepper spray multiple times into the vehicle and onto Mr. Karan Nazario. Now,
also his dog was in the car. So for all you animal lovers, that is very important. Yeah. But I'm sure you're aware of this. I'm sure you've heard of this in the news. The reason it's getting so much news now and not then is because the tape surfaced. Yes.
Like I said, this happened back in December. Yet, Officer Joe Gutierrez just lost his job. And this is again after the video surfaced. Yeah. He was already under investigation, but he was not, for all those out there, he was not on leave. He was still working, but he was under investigation. Once the tape surfaced and America saw what they saw, Mr. Gutierrez was fired. Okay. I know you're aware of this whole situation, Ty, and I just I want you to kind of give me an idea of what you thought when you saw the video.
Yeah. Well, I'll work backwards from what you just said. That you were talking about once they saw the video, they fired him. I mean, that just goes to show right off the bat that they knew it was wrong. You know what I mean? Like, they knew it was wrong, but they were doing everything they could to keep it under wraps, so they didn't have to, so they didn't have to punish this man in any way, or there were no consequences to these actions. When I saw the video, I mean, it was reminiscent of so many other videos that we've seen, where somebody's like, "Why am I being stopped? Why did you pull me over?" why are you asking me to get out of the car? I don't want to get out of the car. I'm scared. Like, please don't make me get out of this car. My hands are right here. That kind of stuff. These videos are not new. They happen far too often. I think obviously the biggest thing about this one, the reason why this one struck a chord with so many people is because this is somebody who's on active duty serving the country in uniform, and he's being treated like this. Now, I think everybody should be treated with a level of respect, no matter who they are or what they do for a living. But, you expect, especially after kind of hearing all of the, support the troops and, kneeling for the flag is the disrespecting the troops and back the blue and all that, after hearing all of that, you would expect our active service members to be treated at least better than the rest of us. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And what we're finding is that it's not about the uniform. It's not about the flag. It's not about what you do for a living. It's about who you are and what you look like. And that's where when you hear the pain in his voice and like the fear in his voice, and like at one point, what got me the most is at one point he was like, "I'm scared," and the officer goes, "You should be." That's, to me, right there. That's somebody who is abusing their power and quite literally terrorizing somebody who wasn't doing anything wrong. You could even see in the video that the temporary plate for that car that he just bought was taped up in the back window, which is a very common practice. Just so you know, I used to a little bit about me. I used to sell cars back in the day, and whenever we would do little paper tags or whatever, those things don't stay on outside. It rains and, in places and stuff like that. So we don't put them on outside. We tape them up inside in the back of the window. So they'll stay there. So, that's nothing new. That cop had seen that before, probably countless times. So when I saw that, it was yet another example that drives home the point, that made it even more clear to me that there's something innate in the way that this country polices that is wrong, and something needs to be changed, and it needs to be changed very drastically. Like these little reforms, little training and stuff like that, it's obviously not working. The training doesn't work. All these departments spending extra money on training, so because somebody got shot or killed or whatever, and then just to end up in the same situation, it's not working. We've got to figure out a different way to go about policing. Hopefully one that ends up in far fewer dead bodies and far fewer people being, terrorized for doing absolutely nothing. End rant.
Yeah, exactly. Now I saw the video as well. And yeah, you're right. The lieutenant made a comment. He said, "Honestly, I'm afraid to get out." Yeah. And then of course, Officer Gutierrez said, "Yeah, you should be." Right. Like really, really kind of like, like you're now being confrontational. Like it's become like, yeah, you should be. Like, why should I be? Like, you pulled me over in a traffic stop. Yep. I mean, I didn't know there was an APB out for, guy driving in a black, SUV and, approach with caution and extreme care. I didn't know that was out. If I did, then, but one of the things that, and this may trigger some people, but I need to make sure that this is a point that's driven home for us as African Americans. If you are scared of the police, which you have every right to be under the current state of things, then don't antagonize a situation. And the only reason I say don't antagonize is because what he did was he continued to question why it was he was pulled over. Now, granted, you are entitled to want to know and understand what you're getting pulled over for. But at the same time, if you're afraid and you know that these individuals are confrontational, then submit at that moment. I'm not telling you to kiss the ground or bend down and kiss their feet or do anything to, take away from your individual humanity. What I am saying, though, is that we are fully aware that African Americans are being killed at a alarming rate.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times it has something to do, or maybe has something to do, with police. Now, if you know this, because everybody watches the news, it's on every platform, everybody knows what's going on, then as I watched that video, there were some things that alarmed me. One was the fact that even though you are afraid and you have your hands out the window, you consistently took your elbow and kept, when they tried to open the door, you did that. I saw you do it 2 or 3 times where you was like, yo, hold up. Yo, when he pulled out the pepper spray and you was doing this. All of this stuff, if you understand the temperature of the kitchen you are in, can get you burned permanently. So if you're scared, then you should go into survival mode. Survival mode means that you're going to do whatever it takes to survive. If that means this cop telling you to get out the car, get out the car. Like, get out the car. I understand you want to know what's going on, and I'm totally with you, brother. I know what you're going through, but get out the car. The cop keeps telling you over and over to get out the car, and all you keep saying is, why is this happening? I've served the country. I'm actively serving the country. Why are you doing this to me? What I saw at that moment was misguided entitlement. He, at that moment, thought because I wear this uniform, I should be viewed differently than all the other people that I've been seeing on the news being harassed, being killed, being beat, whatever the case may be. And that part is the part that I need people to understand, that this was a situation that could have went totally left. And it did go left, but it could have went totally left where he couldn't have came back from. Just because you don't want to get out the car because you feel as though he should tell you what it is that you've done before you get out the car. And that part is the part that escalated the behavior. Even though Gutierrez was wrong in all facets, it escalated his demeanor and his behavior, because if he's in this position of power that he feels that he's entitled to, and then you don't indulge his power, but instead rebel against his power, it's going to cause him to become more and more agitated, which we saw in the video. Mm-hmm. And that was the part that I was like, this needs to be spoken on, because I don't want it to be us just going out trying to antagonize situations to get a check, because a lot of us are not going to end up like Mr. Caron Nazario did. You know what I'm saying? He just so happened to have body cam footage and all of that kind of stuff, and a lucky day where the cop didn't squeeze the trigger or accidentally shoot the person and with a gun instead of their taser. And these are things that I think need to be addressed. So what do you think about it?
Well, I disagree on a lot of points. Mainly because this person was the victim, and people who are subjected to these over anxious police or nervous police or whatever, these people are being victimized in this moment. And it's funny because we always expect the real way it should be happening is the officer maintains a calm and professional demeanor no matter what happens, unless his life is in direct danger, at which point you protect your person, because that's what people do. The show of force, the orders that were not lawful that were given, these are scare tactics, and it's authoritarianism. And while I completely understand what you're saying, because my father had that conversation with me, I'm sure you've had that conversation with your kids. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure countless Black mothers and fathers have had that conversation with their kids to try to keep them from, from being one of these statistics. So I get that. And I think from a pragmatic standpoint, from a survive in the moment standpoint, it makes sense. I'm not saying you don't make sense, because it does make sense. From a standpoint of, okay, when do we get our rights back? That's my question. If he goes and he gets out of the car and things don't go that way, maybe the cop's still probably acting like a dick or something like that, because he just seemed like he was in a bad mood to begin with, you know what I mean, or whatever. Like maybe he just gets out of the car, gets disrespected for a while, gets written a ticket, and then he moves on his way. He moves on his way having his rights violated, and we never hear from him again, or we never hear from the situation again. And this continues on like it has throughout the inception of this country, to where we're still at a point where it is up to Black men and women to when their lives are threatened, to maintain a certain level of calm, to maintain a certain level of respect for the people who are directly threatening their lives and their safety. And we're not the ones that are trained to deal with that. We're not the ones that are, that have guns. We're not the ones pointing guns at them. They're the ones pointing guns at us. It's in the moment. Because like whenever I got pulled over, as you're saying, you know what I mean? And there was a situation where I was racially profiled for, not even being Black, but being Muslim. That's a whole other thing. But like I was racially profiled, and I complied because, I presented my ID, even though I was doing nothing wrong. Mm-hmm. I presented my ID to prove my identification, because I was like, I'm in a situation where I'm like one ID away from being in lockup, mm-hmm. because they think I'm somebody who I'm not. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And in that moment, the way my brain started working was like, I wasn't thinking about my rights or what I could do or what I should do. I was just like, let me go ahead and survive this real quick.
Exactly.
And honestly, I don't know if I'm proud of that. You know what I mean? I hope that confronted with a situation where somebody is, and also in this situation, the cop was very polite, treated me with respect. He was called. Let me just tell the story just that way, so I'm not speaking all vaguely. I'm gonna tell in a short way. I was camping with some friends. Yes, camping. I was camping with some friends, and everybody was white except for me. And somebody in a campsite nearby saw me walking around and thought that I was a missing. Thought that I was an Afghani pilot who had gone missing from a nearby base, who had gone AWOL. The FBI was looking for him and everything. So he called. He was like, "Hey, I got your guy." You know what I mean? And so the cops had to come and investigate it. They did. Police approached. They asked who I was and asked if I had ID. They, no guns drawn or anything like that. They were polite. They were respectful. So I presented my ID, and then he told me the story and all that other stuff, and we went along our way. So that is a situation where he treated me with a level of respect, and I was like, all right, this is fine, whatever. We can go our separate ways. Everything was fine. No harm, no foul sort of thing. I was within my rights to say, my name is Tyrone. And he was like, "What's your last name?" I'd be like, "My name is Tyrone," and that's good enough for now. And if he's like, "Do you have ID?" I'd be like, "I do, but I don't need to show you that ID because I don't know why we're here. I don't know why you're talking to me. I haven't committed a crime." Like, this is all stuff that's afforded to other people. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like having something explained to you. Mm-hmm. Like, if for example, if that cop, let's say Nazario gets pulled over, cop comes to his window and says, I need your license and registration. And Nazario says, "Why'd you pull me over?" He says, "Oh, we didn't see a tag on the back of your car." He's like, "Oh, just got the car. The tag's taped up in the back of the window if you want to check it out." Boom. That's it. That's it. You know what I mean? Like, it shouldn't be up to us to make sure the situation doesn't escalate. There's millions and millions of dollars that go into training police to make sure that people walk away from these situations alive. We don't get that training. You know what I mean? Like, if you're somebody who's out obeying the law and you're just minding your business, and all of a sudden, somebody's rolling up on you like that, that shit is scary. You know what I mean? And as a, and the way that Nazario was acting, he was polite. I mean, you could hear it in his voice. He was just like, please, I just want to know what's happening. You know what I mean? Like he just got run up on and he didn't know what was going on. And he was just, all he kept asking for was an explanation, which he was absolutely entitled to. You can't just be detained for no reason in this country.
But
you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's wherein lies the problem. Again, we talk from a level of logic, but logic sometimes does not line up with reality. And reality is African Americans are being killed, detained, beaten, disenfranchised. Everything you can think of is the reality of a thing. That is the reality of a thing. Now, with that being said, you cannot control the actions of others. What you can do is control your actions. And even though everything you're saying is absolutely right, under the guise of that being the law and the things we're afforded, he has to use his common sense and understand the climate that you live in. And again, you have no control over what Officer Gutierrez is going through, what he's doing, or why he's doing it. What you can control to an extent is the outcome of the event. And by being, in a way, confrontational, only because I say, again, he could have found out what it was that was going on as soon as he got out the vehicle. If he would have just got out the vehicle, then when he gets out the vehicle, they detain him. They put him in the handcuffs, and then he's there. And then they're like, why aren't you why don't you have your license plate on? And he's like, oh, this is what this is about? Oh, the license plate is in the car. They go look, they see the license plate is in there, they run it, it comes back clean, they take him out of the handcuffs. Hey man, we're sorry about the misunderstanding. We didn't see it. That could have been the outcome. I saw
maybe. Now, but I will argue though that I think he was operating on common sense when he wasn't out there just fucking around breaking the law. You know what I mean? Like he was out there he was hanging out, doing his thing, wasn't bothering anybody, operating on common sense, just chilling out. And then he was, he's the innocent bystander in this. You know what I mean? Like this dude was just out living his life. Yeah. And then but I will ask, because I understand what you're saying, because for your survival in that moment, you want to do what you want to do what you can to make sure you're walking out of that situation upright. Yeah. I 100% hear you. But my question is after that, because that is the reality of the situation right now. When do we change the reality, and how do we change the reality? Because I'm not okay with just being our reality. And I think a lot of other people are not okay. There's a bunch of people in Minneapolis right now, who are, or in Minnesota right now, who are showing how not okay they are, or how not okay with that they are. You know what I mean? So that's what I'm saying. Like, when do we change the reality? Because we can't do it by silently protesting, because that bothers people, right? We can't fight for our rights by protesting, after somebody has been murdered, because that upsets people. We can't fight for our individual rights in the moment they're being violated, because our own lives are in danger. Then, you start to ask yourself the question, like, how free am I? You know what I mean? Like if my survival depends on this person not having their worst day, and me just being like okay with whatever happens, and being, as quiet as possible, how free am I? And I think that's the question that everybody's kind of asking right now. I think that's why these protests are kicking off like they are. You know, you look at the situation that you kind of alluded to it, the young man who was killed allegedly because somebody confused a 26-year police veteran confused her gun with her taser. Now, you know, when do we get, like, if we do the behaving thing, if we do the you know, the wait and see thing, or the lawsuits or whatever, is that change going to happen? I see, because if we're asking for it to happen, and we have been asking for it to happen for a long time, it's just not going to happen. I think that, and this is where my own opinion becomes a little bit more, you know, I have to just say this is my opinion, but I think it's more important to challenge authority, even in a situation where you're facing the challenge. And this is me. Now, if I had kids, I don't know if I tell them this, but if when I'm in the situation, or if I'm in the situation, if I know that I'm being a law-abiding citizen, if I know that I'm doing nothing that puts anybody else in danger, and I'm being treated like I'm some sort of animal, then I'm going to stand up for myself. I'm going to demand that I be treated with some sort of respect. And that's where I hope that my head is if I find myself in this situation. I think it's important that he did. I think it's important that Nazario did. I think it's important whenever you see one pop up on your Facebook or the news or whatever, where somebody's like, hey, these are my rights, X, Y, Z, you can't do this. That's important, because we need to know this, because we can't just be living our lives with somebody's boot on our neck constantly, or their knee on our neck constantly. You know what I mean? Like if this was the way it was for everybody, it still wouldn't be right, but it would at least be a little easier to stomach. But it's not the same for everybody. And for too long, it's just been our reality that we just deal with. Like we mentioned earlier, like the conversations that we've always had. Imagine that conversation 5 years from now, 10 years from now, a black mother or black father is talking to their kids, and they're like, hey, if the police ever pull you over, know that you have rights, know that, you know, this and that's the case, and know who you are, know what you're doing, and know what they can and can't do. And people don't get killed for it. You know what I mean? That's the change that we're trying to see. All we're trying to say is, don't kill us. That's it. You know what I mean? That's just don't kill us.
Yeah.
That's not too much to ask. And that's, I think,
I agree. I agree. Yeah, I want you to know that. I agree.
And I want you to know that I 100% see where you're coming from. Like I said, if I had kids, I don't know if I'd probably be telling them the same thing. Hey, look, keep your mouth shut. You know, just do what they say, because I want to see you come home to me.
Exactly.
And that is a very pragmatic way to look at things, and I do not begrudge you that, because that's you know, you're worried about your safety, or about your kids' safety. 100%, I agree with that. I think it's terrible that you have to make that choice. And I think it's terrible that they might have to make that choice, and I think it's terrible that, you know, Nazario had to make that choice. And I think, you know, so it's a matter of where we are versus where we want to be. I think that if we continue to just say compliance is enough to just get us through, and that's fine, and then we'll just work on everything else after that, I think that is only just going to kick the can down the road. I think as we become more unsettled, as we become more demanding of better treatment, as we become demanding of equal rights, and like real equal rights, and just the opportunity to live unquestioned, I think we'll be in a much better place. But it's going to take some work. And in the meantime, yes, I agree with you, Ty. Be safe. You know what I mean? Be safe. You know, protect yourself, and, you know, as much as you can. Yeah, just as much as you can, just protect yourself in whatever way that means to you. Protect yourself.
Yeah. I mean, as far as the African people, with, like, this has been part of the culture. This has been part of the culture for as long as we can remember. We've been, you know, schooled on how to act when having interactions or dealings, or not to have interactions or dealings with the police at all. You know, that like a lot of us are taught that, like, just don't even, you know, like if you can avoid the police, avoid them at all costs.
Yeah.
But when I saw that video, that was the part that I noticed. I noticed that even though like he was in every right and had every right to ask, why am I being pulled over? Without the reaction that he got. But unfortunately, he got the reaction that he got.
Right.
And at that point, you have to then go into yourself and ask yourself, is this something I'm willing to die on the sword for? Because I get what you're saying. Like, yo, you have rights. You should know your rights. And there are instances where that works. There's a guy on YouTube that goes around and does these videos where he challenges the police all the time. New South. I think he's from South Carolina, but he goes around and he knows all the penal codes and knows all the laws backwards and forwards, and a lot of time he confuses the hell out of the cops, and they don't know what the hell. You know, and they usually have no grounds to do nothing. They think they do, and then he tells them all this stuff, and then they're like, and then you know somebody gets on the walkie and is talking to the senior officer, and they're like, yeah, right, yeah, get the fuck out of here. He's about to get us all fucked up, you know.
And is that a black dude though? Is he a black dude?
Yes.
Oh shit! Hey,
yes. And he does this all the time.
He goes
all over South Carolina, all over Georgia. He goes all to all of these
Carolina and Georgia.
To these, yes.
Exactly.
He goes on to the county police stations and all of, and he'll have his gun on his waist, and they'll come on. They'll be like, you know, like we were just wondering who you are. He was like, why? Like, I can walk around. Is there a law that says I can't walk around with my gun on my? And they're like, no, but you know, we were wondering who you were. He's like,
oh well.
I don't have to tell you.
That's cool because he's doing what a lot of people can't. You know what I mean? Like it seems that he's educated to the point where like he's using that as like a shield, you know what I mean? And seemingly very well because he's not dead yet. So that's good news. You know what I mean? So I like that. I like to see that he's out there and doing it without violence and everything. That's because, you know, that's a big sticking point for people, you know, when they see protests and stuff like that, and they start seeing some violence or whatever, you know, they start to get a little high and mighty, even though a lot of these things start from a murder and it's like, a couple windows. But anyway, but you know, I'm glad to see that. I'm glad to see somebody out there kind of helping to educate and stuff. And you know, before I go any further, I do want to just say that I say all this stuff and I speak from a place of blackness while still being very aware that I'm not necessarily black passing. So I probably won't find myself in some of these in these situations. You know what I mean? Like a cop's not going to look at me and think scary black man. Now, will a cop look at me and think scary Muslim? Yes. That's my own battle. But like, you know, I just want to let that be known because I speak this way knowing that I have, I don't know what was called beige privilege, but you know what I mean? So I'm probably not going to find myself in a similar situation.
Well, I've been really conscious this episode, and I'm even moving forward because I've been talking. I was having a conversation earlier with someone that I hold in high regard, and he made it a point to tell me to stop saying black. He said, "We are not black. Black is a color. It is not an ethnicity. We are African American." You know, whatever, but we are all Africans. We are not black. Black is a property identifier, and it was just because of the color that they saw when they brought us over here. They saw us as the color black, but there are no black people. There are African people. There are African American people. There's whatever you know company you are indigenous of. Usually is your representation by ethnicity. So to all my African brothers and sisters, do not allow yourself to be called black anymore because you are not black. That is just a color. That is a representation that was put onto you to be able to determine what property you were. You know, that's my black property. That's my black boy. That's my black girl. There's no black. We're all African or wherever you're indigenous of. So if you're, you know, from Haiti, you're Haitian. If you're from Jamaica, you're Jamaican. So, you know, to all my African Americans, no longer call yourself black because there's no country called black. So that's just my little you know, piece of knowledge that I'm gonna share with y'all because it was shared with me, and I'm gonna try to do my best to incorporate that in my lifestyle. But moving on, because we spent a lot of time on this, you know, but I do want that to be understood that whoever you are and wherever you are in this world, your life is important, and nobody's life is worth a concept or a belief. I don't care what you think you're doing by giving your life up for a cause, because guess what? At the end of the day, your life, as much as I think it matters, when you die for a cause, the cause can still be eradicated whether you died or not. You know what I'm saying? So just take that into consideration. And just, you know, use your best judgment when those situations arise. You know, there was you actually touched on it, so it's really it makes it really easy to transition into it. But we had some other news about a young 20-year-old African American boy out of Brooklyn Center, Minnesota. His name was Daunte Wright. Daunte Wright was pulled over for what police say were out of date tags or something, like something to that degree. His tags were outdated, and also because they saw something strange dangling from his rearview mirror. Upon pulling young Mr. Wright over, the police ran his name and said that he had an outstanding warrant for his arrest. Upon trying to place Mr. Wright into custody, Mr. Wright made a gesture to jump back into the car and I guess try to evade police. I'm not sure if that was his intention, but that's what it looked like. He tried to evade police. At this point, Kim Potter, Officer Kim Potter, a 26-year veteran, so she's been on the force for 26 years, y'all, decided to pull out what she thought, by her own testimony, was her taser. At that point, Officer Potter aimed her taser, or what she thought to be her taser, into the car where Daunte Wright sat struggling in his seat with, I think, 2 other officers. And she let off or discharged what she thought was her taser and fired a shot into Mr. Wright, which would later be found to be his fatal blow. I'm sure you have been following this case. I did some digging, and it seems as though Tim Gannon, which is the police chief of the Brooklyn Center Police Department, said that the officers are trained to grab their tasers with their non-dominant hand and their guns with their dominant hand. So for all those out there, everybody out there, basically what he's saying is, if you're right-handed, your gun should be on your right side. If you're right-handed, that would make your left hand your non-dominant hand. Your taser should be on your left side. So as to not confuse yourself,
right,
of which you're pulling. Now, here's a little bit of info that I did the digging on. Now, based on what the Frank Stroud, who is the president of the National Police Foundation, which is a nonprofit organization for improving policing. What he said is tasers are generally bright yellow in color or have a bright yellow piece on them, and they're lighter than actual handguns, than the firearms that the police carry. And that most officers wear them on opposite sides just for the reason of not confusing the two.
Yeah. So
Miss Potter is a 26-year veteran, which I would believe that she's picked up her gun. You know, it's fair to say a lot. So she probably is pretty comfortable with the weight of her gun and, you know, how it feels in her palm and everything like that. However, this day, for some reason, Miss Potter forgot for a moment what that firearm felt like in her hand, as opposed to the taser that she thought she was discharging. After hearing all of this and seeing the video, do you feel like this was an accident, like Miss Potter believes, and also Police Chief Gannon, because he went on the news and said he believes it's an accident? Do you believe it's an accident, or based on what you saw, do you believe that this could fall under wrongful murder?
So I don't think it's an accident. I don't think she set out. I don't think she intended to kill him. I don't think she was like, I'm going to shoot this man. But I don't think it's an accident, because I think what you saw was a bunch of unconscious bias. So, you know, she felt threatened in that moment, threatened enough to pull out what she thought was her taser, even though there was no threatening action toward her or any of the other officers. And I think that's something that we all have to reconcile with is unconscious bias. But so I think in that moment, her mistakes, and I'm just going to give her the benefit of the doubt, say that she made a mistake in that moment. Maybe she was a little bit more nervous because dude was black, and she has her unconscious biases that she deals with and stuff like that. But even still, like, let's just say that it was just a terrible, tragic mistake. She should have been fired immediately, arrested immediately, arraigned, and charged with what she will be charged with, which is at least manslaughter. Because if you or I accidentally kill somebody, we're not going to just be able to explain it to our bosses and be like, okay, that's, we're cool, I guess we'll just move on. You know what I mean? Like that's where all of these situations are. It's like, it's not even like, it's like, don't kill us. And then second, it's like, if somebody does kill us, then they should be arrested and they should be tried for that crime. And we're still not getting there yet. We still haven't gotten both of those things. It took 3 days worth of protests, and she had to resign. She and the police chief both had to resign. They didn't even get fired. You know what I mean? Like that's, and now only just now are prosecutors in the state going to charge her with manslaughter. You're not working a desk job. You're not a barista. You're not, hell, you're not even a firefighter. You know what I mean? Like your interactions with somebody, well, maybe a firefighter might, they're saving lives, whatever. But like your interactions with somebody could potentially take a life. You have lethal weapons on you. So if in that moment, in that one moment that you've trained your entire career for, you don't have the wherewithal to pull out your less lethal option when that's what you intended to do, then immediately you're not fit to do your job. So the fact that she went into work the next day, wrong.
Well, you are familiar with the term qualified immunity, right?
Oh yeah, and I think it is one of the biggest problems with policing in this country.
For all those people out there that aren't familiar with qualified immunity is what allows police officers. It basically shields officers from all liability for all actions taken on the job, except for those that violate clearly established law. So basically what that's saying is, if you are in the act of a crime, and I, the police officer, need to pursue you, and you are outrunning me and getting away,
Mm-hmm.
I am now afforded the right to pull out my gun and shoot you if it then will hinder you from escaping. So I can, and now the problem there is that qualified immunity gives you the right to shoot them anywhere and get away with it. Now, the problem with that is if you take gun classes as a citizen,
Mm-hmm.
they teach you that there are places you cannot shoot a person without being considered a crime or an act of a criminal act.
Yeah.
So if as a citizen you're taught these same lessons, then why is it different for a police officer to be able to shoot you wherever and be afforded this shield or this mechanism of thinking that makes them feel as though I can do anything and get away with it? Because that's what we're at. That's where we're at now.
Yeah.
That they can literally do anything to you and say that you were committing a crime to justify the acts that they do.
Yeah, and as long as there's nobody there, nobody alive to speak in your favor, then it's their word versus your dead body. I guess in that situation, and that's the police unions are powerful. They're very, very powerful. They've got a lot of political clout. Even when you think about politicians, we think of it often as like Republicans or like all Blue Lives Matter, and Democrats are like, we got to make changes. Even the Democratic establishment are like, okay, we just need to train more or something like that, because the police unions are, they're spending money on all these politicians, not just Republicans. You know what I mean? Having the police union behind you as a politician is a valuable thing still, because the police in this country have always been kind of shown as like the heroic element. It's the element protecting us from all the bad people and that kind of thing. So it's really easy to say, hey, these are the good guys, and the good guys are behind us.
And this law has been around since 1967.
Wasn't there something that happened in the 60s that was like pretty big for a lot of people? And like,
maybe what was it? Like maybe the civil rights movement?
That's what it was. The timing is a little bit interesting.
Man. I don't know, man. But this has been enacted for that same reason, to be able to control a movement, control people, be able to administer all types of pain and tragedy without with a clear pat on the hand, or a pat on the back rather, for a good job. So we're still seeing this today. When I did my research on this, I found that there was another case that happened in the Bay Area some time ago, and there was an individual, and his name was, I believe, Oscar Grant. And Oscar Grant was killed in 2010 by a transit police officer.
Yeah.
The transit police officer's name was Johannes Mayshurley or something like that, Mayshurl or something like that. But basically, Omar Grant was being detained. He was in handcuffs and he was on the ground. The officer, Johannes, aimed what he said he believed to be his taser at Oscar Grant and fired a shot and killed Oscar Grant. He was immediately fired and also prosecuted on involuntary manslaughter charges. So he was convicted. However, once he was sentenced to the bare minimum, which was 2 years. He served 11 months and got out of jail on good behavior. So he killed a man, served 11 months, less than a year, got out of jail, and is back, in the world doing whatever it is that Johannes does, which is killing.
Right. Yeah.
So this level of behavior and this same scenarios have happened countless times throughout history, and this qualified immunity has been the reason why these cops have continued to do it without fear of repercussion.
Yeah.
It's back you know, in front of the people it needs to be in front of, the bill to being passed to pass the law where it's back in front of the people again. I doubt very seriously it'll be passed. It'll be the same instances of well, you know, we need to protect our police. We need to, if we don't institute this, then we're telling our police force or the men and women that serve the police force that we don't support them, which I think is a fallacy. I think that is definitely you know, something that you know, you say to yourself to justify you know, continuing to these corrupt programs and these strategies of control that they continue to manipulate. So my thing is, with this Daunte Wright situation, again, this is probably going to ruffle some feathers, but that's what we're here for. Daunte did not have to you know, resist those cops. I'm not going to sit here and act like he just was the innocent bystander. Now, did it warrant his life being taken? Absolutely not. In no way, shape, or form am I saying that. But we do have to also acknowledge that some of our actions have consequences and repercussions. Unfortunately, in this case, it cost this young man his life.
Now, I will say, though, his actions didn't cost him his life. Somebody else's actions cost him his life.
Nah, that's wrong. You're wrong.
Because then we're victim blaming. If we're
it's not okay. You cannot be the causiary. You can't be the causiary, because he was the causiary, because at the end of the day, they stopped him for a expired tag. Mm-hmm. At that point, they've ran his name. Mm-hmm. He had a warrant. Now,
a warrant for not paying fines, so it's administrative.
That's not
bullshit.
True.
Yeah,
that is not true either. So I don't know who told you that, but I did research on that too.
What was his warrant for then?
His warrant, his second warrant, the warrant that they actually were referring to, was because he had a warrant for possession of a pistol and fleeing from a peace officer, which whatever that means, whatever a peace officer is. But that was what the warrant was for. Now, people went there. Some guy went online, Masterson went online and said that it was for a previous warrant, which it wasn't for, which was supposedly the warrant. They were saying the warrant was for him, an attempted assault on him, trying to choke a girl and rob her or something like that. But that had nothing to do with this warrant. This warrant was for a possession of a pistol, an unlawful possession of a pistol, which is a misdemeanor. I was
going to say, what's the punishment for that? I don't think it's execution.
Which is a misdemeanor. But and then the fleeing for a peace officer, which I would assume is also a misdemeanor, because what the hell is a peace officer other than a security guard? I mean, I don't know. But that was what it was for. So if her level of caution was because you ran his name and you saw that he had 2 previous charges of firearms involved, then I would say, as a police officer, if I were a police officer and, you know, I'm trying to get home to my family as well, I would probably, you know, at that point be more cautious than I would with, say, you know, somebody whose name I ran and, you know, they have no prior felonies. So that part I would understand where the level of caution would be when you see somebody's record and you see that they have multiple things involving a gun. But in this case, when you say he's the victim, he is the victim because he died. He wasn't the victim prior to that. He was the causiary. He was when they ran your name, you had a warrant. Whatever the warrant was for, at that point, they have to take you into custody. So if the warrant is not what it said it is, we'll find out when we get to the station and we run everything and do all of that kind of stuff. That is the process. That is a process, and I get that. Now, she didn't have to kill him. She didn't have to shoot him. I'm in agreement with you there. But that part would have never came into effect had you not resisted. When they were putting, what I saw in the video, and we saw the same video, was Daunte Wright with his hands behind his back, about to be cuffed. That's what I saw. Then I saw him pull away from the cop and get back in the vehicle.
Yes.
That's the part where I say he's the causieri, because if you don't pull away from the cop, you go to jail that day in handcuffs.
But I can't get back on board with it, though, only because none of that justifies killing somebody.
No, I'm not justifying. I'm not.
Therefore,
justifying.
He is the victim of wrongdoing.
No, I said he's the victim because he got shot and killed. But to say that he was the victim prior to that, as though what led up to that, because what I'm saying is X out the fact that he doesn't go into the car. I'm not saying that the means justified the end. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is we cannot discount the fact that he jumped into that car, and that like it, had you not done that at all, we would not be having a discussion about anybody pulling out a gun and shooting you. That's what I'm saying.
Maybe.
Well, from what we saw, I'm just saying from what
we've seen examples before of people being shot for no reason. But all I'm saying is, like, if he jumps in the car and he speeds off and he crashes and dies, then he died because of his own hands. You know what I mean? Like he ran into a tree and crashed his car and died. He got shot by somebody who was either panicking or incompetent or whatever, for no good reason. None of his actions justify getting shot. And I think that's the main thing that I always kind of go back to with any of these shootings, regardless of what was said, regardless of the actions, up to, of course, actually physically threatening somebody's life. None of those things should end in you getting shot. And I think that's where we need to start as a society, that once that, like, if somebody dies, if somebody is hurt or killed because, you know, they mixed up their taser, or whether it's, you know, they had a knee on a neck or whatever else, we shouldn't have cops out here executing people on the streets. No, it shouldn't be happening. Yeah. But I see what you're saying is, you know, did he have a warrant out for his arrest? Yes, he did.
Yes.
Did he evade the police and get back into his car?
Yes.
Yeah, he absolutely did. None of that should have ended in him getting shot. And because it did, he is the victim of a crime.
I said all of that. We're there. He is a victim. I said the reason he's a victim is because he got shot and killed. But I don't want the fact that you decided to pull away from those cops, which escalated that whole situation to the point of getting shot. I'm not sitting here saying the ends justified the means, but I don't want it to be that part to be excluded from the scenario, because there's one thing we're talking about with George Floyd, where, again, you cannot control the actions of others, but this situation was in Daunte Wright's control to allow himself to be arrested and then deal with it once he got to the jail. First of all, this is not your first time going to jail. So you've been there. You know what the routine is. And if you know you didn't do the shit, you know how this shit goes. It's not like this is your first time being locked up and you have this level of fear because you have no idea what to expect. And all you've seen is prison movies and, you know, stories that talk about you being anally raped. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're just like, oh, your fear, your fear constitutes, it constitutes fear at that point, because you don't know what to expect. But you done been here, brother. You done been here. It's not like it's not your first rodeo. So if you felt like what the warrant that they had is bogus, let's go and get this taken care of so I can bond out and get home to my family. But what you did was you acted as though this was like a felony warrant, and you know what I'm saying? Like, if they took you down, you were going for the rest of your life. Like, that is the behavior of somebody. Like, if I know I'm going to jail and I'm gonna do 25 years, I'm gonna make you do your job. You're gonna have to work hard for me. I'm not gonna make this easy for you. Because I know once they get me, shoot, I ain't gonna see light for a long, long time. But a misdemeanor warrant, if he knew about it, because there is some skepticism as far as whether or not the warrant was sent to the correct address. I have heard this argument that maybe he didn't get it and that was the case. But even if that's the case, even if you didn't get it, and you don't, again, if you think this is bogus, let's go ahead and handle it. Let's not do something, especially where you're located. If there is no place else on earth that they know about the George Floyd incident, it's in Minnesota where the George Floyd incident happened. Like, this is right up the way from it where it happened. It's not like this is what,
and
like,
they still shot that man
far end of Minnesota away from, and then you're on the other spectrum of Minnesota. You're right down the street. You know what's going on. You know that these cops is killing y'all, and like, you gonna take that risk of jumping in them with the itchy trigger fingers? You gonna take the risk? So, granted, again, I'm totally in agreement that nobody's life should be taken from them for any act of, well, unless they're trying to take other lives.
Yeah,
but,
I mean, if you're threatening somebody,
if you're out there trying to kill other people, then you might need to get up out of here. But outside of that, I don't feel like there's any crime you can commit, and that's including, touching kids. Like, you should suffer. You shouldn't just be able to, be killed and just get on up out of here. No, you should have to live with that. And you know what I mean? But this incident, and I do feel like after watching the tape, that this incident could have been de-escalated. I really do. If you're in the prone position, you're already there, bro. Like, once they put those cuffs on, you're there. Like, so you're there. Like, he had your hands behind your back. You was ready to go, and something just snapped in you. And you was like, you know what? I could get away. Which, no, you can't. Not like that. Maybe if you was already in the car and the car was started, you know what I mean? But to have to jump in the car, start the car, tussle with the police, you got your girlfriend over here in the seat next to you talking about, babes, don't stop. No, don't do that. Come on, man. It's not happening. It's not happening.
I do get what you're saying. And this is the same, like from earlier. It's like, do the things that are going to keep you safe, and not the opposite things. I get that. My go-to is always that cops can't be killing people out in the street. You know what I mean? And I know you agree with that. And I'm not saying that you don't. And for me, there's not really much more to say about it. After that, it's like, okay, that is the rule. And because there's a lot of room between struggling with the police and getting back in your car and getting shot. There's a lot of room for other things to happen there. You know what I mean? Right. They had 3 people on dude. You know what I mean? They have tasers, apparently. Or at least they thought they did. You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of room there. And my whole thing is I hope that one day we can take the responsibility off of us to do everything that we can possibly do to not get killed. You know what I mean? Like, we should the idea is we should just be able to know that we're not going to die when we come in contact with the police. Like, we should know that even if we're an asshole, or even if we do some dumb shit, we're not going to die because of it. You know what I mean? Because there are people who get to live that life, and they get to live it, over and over again, and they get to enjoy that life. And I want it one day. My last thing is going to be, I just hope one day we all get to live that life where we could be just as irresponsible and just as asshole-ish and just as stupid as other people are able to be without it being a fatal error.
Yeah. I mean, it's I'm with you, man. It's wishful thinking. I mean, it is. I mean, when you've seen something happen so consistently and for so as long, the duration to be as long as it's been, it's very discouraging.
Yeah, it is
to think that it's going to suddenly change.
Yeah.
And even with the outpour and the outcries and all of the backlash that the police departments around the countries are getting, people are still getting killed.
Yeah. And the fight will continue. And, I hope that one day it becomes things do look better. But shout out to everybody who's out there, protesting and organizing and being heard in their communities and stuff. People who are running for office and people who are really trying to make things. And shout out to people who are trying to change things within the force. Like I know some police, and I know a couple good people who are police, and I hope that they are trying to make changes within their precincts and their departments and stuff. So, that's where I hope we end up.
I hope we end up there too, man.
Yeah.
It's just hard to, when you deal with so many different personalities around the world. It's so and I wish the cause that we're fighting for was important enough for us as a culture to unite.
Right.
But even despite everything that's going on, and despite the outflux of support, or the influx of support that we receive for as a movement, it's still divided. We still have division. We still have one side over here doing what they want to do, and one side over here doing what they want to do, and nobody meeting in the middle. And as long as we continue with the division, that none of this stuff is going to be, reprimanded or even amended. You know what I'm saying? So this is a wake up call, as usual. But it's another wake up call for us as a culture, as a people, to that listen, you have to understand the climate that you are in. I understand who I am, and I'm sure a lot of people out there understand who they are. And it is always good to know self, but it is better to know where self derives and where self dwells, because that has an immense effect on how you live your life. Because at the end of the day, you can be a starch movement supporter, or a revolutionary, or whatever it is that you see yourself as, you see yourself in this culture. But if you don't understand that you are still, despite all of those things, a minority, you are a minority. You know what I'm saying? So unless you are willing to, swallow your ego, swallow your pride, and unite on one common goal, we are going to continue to have to abide by the laws of the land, and the laws of the land determine that we are insignificant. And as long as that power or authority continues to deem us insignificant, then these are going to be, the events that we continue to see through our culture, sadly, but truthfully.
No, I got you. And just my last word on that is, I think the only person who can unite us is President The Rock 2020 with Secretary of Defense Kanye West, Vice President Kevin Hart.
Vice President Kevin Hart, man, it sounds like the presidential election I'm looking forward to. I think we're all ready to fire Joe Biden right now and nominate the Rock as intermediary. So man, hey man, I enjoyed it, man. It was a fun week. Man. It was another fun week. It was another fun show. I want to give you an opportunity to tell the people where they can get at you, what you got going on, what you got coming up. Give the people a little bit of info on Mr. Thornhill.
Yeah, of course. Catch me Saturday morning on the New Blurred Order. We'll be talking Falcon and Winter Soldier. We'll be just having a lot of fun, chopping up about everything. I will be returning to the live stage, very soon. I'll be coming to Palm Coast and coming to Orlando. Orlando will be that May the 6th New Blurred Order show, which I'm very much looking forward to. So, yeah, looking forward to seeing everybody. It's been a while, and I can't wait to get back.
Sounds good, man. And you can also catch me on the New Blurred Order at 9 a.m. every Saturday morning with my co-host Tyrone Thornhill, also Yaz the model, and my brother at The Real Vince Taylor. Also catch us May 6th. And what is it? Geek Easy?
Geek Easy, yeah.
Easy? The Geek Easy will have some flyers and everything showing the times and the location and everything like that. And you can get at me at ToddBricks41 on Instagram, or right here on Facebook at Talim Robinson. Appreciate everybody coming in, showing support. Hope you enjoyed the show. And we are going to be out, and we will see you guys next week.